Amira was just asking, and I think that's a good way to say how we are going to plan, because earlier sessions since morning we have been seeing we are running short of time. So the way we think, each of us will speak, say, 7-8 minutes on the topic, and we'll have more discussions. Let it be interactive and lively, instead of one person going on speaking for 15-20 minutes. So I'll give a very short presentation. As you can see, ICT innovations revolutionizing healthcare, a bottom-up approach, and my area is, of course, e-learning, health information exchange standards and e-learning. So I'll just give a brief idea about some of the things that I'm doing, and obviously with examples. E-learning, I think all of you are familiar with, and most of you are probably actively involved in. So all forms of electronically supporting learning and teaching. So it could be network learning or not, whatever be the thing, digitally. In fact, there's the other session going on digital learning, so it could be also overlapping with that. And health informatics, to put it very simply, informatics is nothing but the art and science of processing information. So when it comes to healthcare information or health information, we call it health informatics. And that's applicable to so many things. Most of you are familiar with many of these facets. So one of the e-learning courses that we are offering on this Health Information Exchange Standards is from HL7 India. We just concluded the 5th edition. The 6th edition is supposed to start from February next year. And we have had a very good response. I'll just give a brief idea about how this course runs. The 5th edition, which ended on October 27th. It's a 14-week course. Every week, a module is released. It's an asynchronous text-based learning. So every week when the module is released, some study materials are given, along with some assignments and quizzes. Assignments are of two types: mandatory assignments and optional ones. Mandatory assignments are obviously essential for anyone wishing to get the course completion certificate. Optional assignments are really for the advanced students who has got some more time or wants to go deeper. And those assignments are obviously marked. Tutors comment on those, but those do not add to the final grades. So that's the flexibility. And there's a discussion forum. In fact, here we get students from all over the world. In fact, I would like to share an experience I had with a Chinese student. She had asked me more than 100 questions in the duration. That was more than a question a day. Of course, I used to respond to that as well, but that's something. So if someone is really self-motivated, self-directed learning, active learning, these are the terms I think floating around. In the digital learning session where I was there in the morning, people were discussing about these terms. But that's very important. So if the person is wanting to learn, you can. Pose the questions and answers come not only from the tutors, but even from the other students. So that's called peer-to-peer learning. So all these go on, and of course, the assignments are quite time-consuming also at times. It's an open book, open internet. You can take the assignment and use Google or whatever you like, but it's not so easy to get to the problems unless you understand what it is. So that's a hands-on approach. It goes on through 14 weeks. And yes, not all people actually complete it. There are quite a few dropouts because, as I said, it's very extensive. So we are looking at ways how to get better attendance. From my institute also, I offer online course on health informatics, very similar in structure, of slightly shorter duration. And again, as I said, the students are from different time zones, different geographical areas. In fact, in one of the batches, I had one engineer from Greece and another doctor from Pakistan, and they were very interactive. They would ask questions and answer it themselves. That was really, in fact, an excellent interaction, not only because they were belonging to different continents, but also from different backgrounds and the interactions. So all the other silent spectators, the students who don't ask questions, they also get to learn. Of course, if you ask questions, you get to learn more. But that's a part of the game. So this is another example, where I have been giving. In fact, I had made a lecture also on this, how to design an effective e-learning course for medical education. This is in the super course. in the Pittsburgh University, if you are aware. It's a WHO collaborative center where there are now more than 50,000 lectures from all over the world. And that is quite something. In fact, I am happy to say that this lecture was among the top 20 to be downloaded globally among the lectures which are there. So this was, I think, 2009. Then I made another lecture this year that's on wikis and learning management systems, how you can use wikis. In fact, in the current edition, we are having even student pages on Facebook and LinkedIn. So whatever you are comfortable with, if you want to tweet your responses, you're most welcome. I'm almost always online unless I'm traveling. And even when I'm traveling, I try to be online as much as possible. Wikis, I think, again, all of you must be familiar with. Which is the most famous wiki? WikiLeaks became famous, but Wikipedia still rules. I mean, if you look at the sheer number, definitely. Incidentally, WikiLeaks is not really a wiki in that sense, but Wikipedia is. That's a very excellent example. So, no, that's the thing. I mean, you can definitely go and edit and collaborative learning, so wisdom of the crowd. Lots of terms are used, but it's really worthwhile. Handling a formal learning management system, those of you who are familiar with it, the HL7 e-learning course or the course I offer from my institute, they're all based on Moodle. That's an open source, free and open source software. And there are, of course, various proprietary software, but you can use Wiki if you're not very comfortable with the learning management system. Of course, all the functionalities would not be there. So at some point of time, they can supplement each other. And we have been experimenting with those. So this is the thing which Dr. Shivan Ganju very nicely summarized what the National Knowledge Commission said. And this is one of the committees that was formed. As you can see, the date is 13th September 2010. This is the Committee on the Standardization of Electronic Medical Records. This was formed last year. Last year, they had 2 meetings, and this year 1. So far, they have had 3 meetings. So you can see in the period of almost 12 months, they had only 3 meetings. And of course, we have given some recommendations. It's being consolidated. So it must be stuck somewhere in the Health Secretariat. It must be there, the file somewhere. Perhaps moving, perhaps not moving, but it's there. So things are going on like this. The other things also, a lot of things are happening. And I personally believe that legislation is likely to come for electronic medical records. So in India also, I mean, it will be legally mandated. Of course, there would be timeline for transition. It won't be that from tomorrow you have to do like this. They will give 20 years, 25 years time, whatever it is. So when that comes, that's where the question lies. And that's why we need to think of this. What's the topic of this session? That innovations revolutionizing healthcare. Why do you need a bottom-up approach? If it's now actually not a question of if, it's rather a question of when. The law comes in. How are you going to get the people trained? Because education and training is definitely going to take a big role. It will be very important, because if the law is there, it has to be done. Then suddenly you'll see all sorts of mushrooming of training institutes and training personnel also. But then the trainers themselves may not be aware what is required. So this is one area where I personally feel it's an important topic to be discussed especially among gatherings like this, where all of you are involved with it and passionate about it. And we need to really think how we can go forward for this raising awareness, education, and training. So that's my presentation. I'll end my presentation here. Any questions, any clarifications on this, and then we'll move to the next speaker. Yes, please.
Not this, but why 7? Why HL is 7?
Sorry?
Why HL is 7?
You know what is HL7?
Yeah, I know what HL7.
What is it?
Health level 7, it's a communication protocols for.
It's not a communication protocol.
We use for our device communication.
No. No, that's the OSI model. That's why the level 7, it was said the application model. That's the historicity of the name. But It's about clinical data interchange. So if you want to, in fact, that's what exactly was being talked earlier. Suppose in your hospital you're storing something, and the patient wants to have an opinion on that and wants to takes that, maybe you've given a CD, goes there and they say we can't read anything. So that won't help. That interoperability won't be there. HL7, why? Because as far as this clinical data interchange is concerned, that's the standard globally. ISO has got a technical committee on healthcare informatics, ISO TC215. They are also adopting most of the HL7 standards. It is being recognized by the countries. I mean, all the standard bodies like.
But it is because of the OSI model, it is called 7?
Yeah, that's the historicity of the name. Now it doesn't have anything for 7. No. Now, if you're saying only about the 7, that's just the historicity part of it. When it was made, HL7 started in 87. So that time the OSI model was in vogue. People took it. Now that OSI model is no more followed, so it doesn't matter. But the name, they won't change. But HL7, if you ask about the versions, yes, version 2 or version 3, that's a paradigm difference. USA, Australia, they're using version 2, 2.5, 2.6. Whereas most of the European countries, and Europe is far ahead in healthcare delivery. US is one of the failed systems. They're using version 3. So in version 3, what is the speciality? There's a thing called CDA, the Clinical Document Architecture, which is very user-friendly, which is very doctor-friendly. HL7 version 2 is not doctor-friendly. But HL7 version 3, there's a thing called RIM, Reference Information Model. Because of that RIM, this CDA, and the problem, what is the problem with CDA? It's cumbersome. So now they are trying to overcome that by one of the methods which has come out is called a green CDA. So what is green CDA? It's again a simplified version. It's directly as an application tool which can be easily incorporated. CDA is something the doctors like. HL7 version 2 is something the doctors don't really enjoy. But as I said, again, historically speaking, who started early, US, Australia, they are continuing with the version 2. Version 2 to 3 cannot be mapped directly. So there's a problem in that area. But here we are not talking about HL7. We are talking about need for training.
So you are educating individuals. What about the HMS and HIS application service solution providers? So do they come to you and do you certify them that, okay, they have interoperability built into the system?
Yeah.
Anybody approach them?
Again, this is where this gathering like this was very important, e-India, where you're talking about e-gov, because it's again a policy decision. Like in the USA, it's their NIST, the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, who certify, okay, these are the versions or these are the particular protocols you should follow. It's excellent. If you go to the Bureau of Indian Standards, you get lost. If you talk about healthcare informatics, yeah, they have a committee. I tried to see the name of the members. It went for 200 or 400 pages. I lost track. I mean, all the health secretaries of all the states and so on, they are the members. And as far as I know, they haven't had any output. But it's there, some of the things. And funny thing about the Bureau of Indian Standards is because on behalf of HL7 India, I personally have been trying to establish a liaison with them. They never reply to emails. I don't know whether they read emails or not, but at least they don't reply. So, I mean, that's where it is. As I said, legally, for any country, it will be their Bureau of Standards or whatever it is, which will mandate, okay, these are the standards you have to follow. After that, the certification will come, if that is done. So, if and when the law comes, okay, these are the standards for this, for image, you follow DICOM. Okay, then you can see, okay, yeah, this software allows you to use DICOM images and nothing else. But so that's what you're asking is a more futuristic question. That will come. But right now, the slide I showed, that the Committee of EMR Standards, they have just given an interim report, based on which the ministry is supposed to give some feedback, based on which some modifications are to be made. Then a final report will be placed to the Secretary of Health, who will then take it to the minister. And I don't know whether you remember, but last year, somewhere in the month of March, yeah, I think last year, 2010 March, in the newspaper, a lot of stories came out on the then Health Secretary and the then Minister of State for Health, that they had a public spat on one of the issues, one of the other things, the India Health Portal. Since then, of course, the secretary has changed. He has retired. There's now another secretary. Even the Minister of State of Health, whom about Dr. Ganju said, Mr. Dinesh Trivedi is now the Railways Minister, so he's no more in health. Because he was one person who was personally pursuing it, yeah. And even the health secretary in general, they are interested. But the time, in fact, if you are there in the morning session, what Mr. Saxena said, you have those British-made processors. So these people, it has to go through this process. So these are the persons who must check before it can be sent to the next person who can see and comment and so on. So it's somewhere there. It's in the ministry. Ministry is considering it actively, yes. But when will the outcomes be known? We have no idea. Any other questions? Any other questions on the need for training or e-learning as such? If not, we'll move to the next speaker, and then we'll have more discussions. I would like to have this as a more interactive thing.